Today is Tuesday, June 24th, 2025. I'm Commissioner Jeff Merkowitz. I am joined virtually by Commissioners Robin Solomon and Jonathan Miller. Also with us today are President Chelsea Andrews, Vice President Karine Brown, and other HOC staff. The first order of business on our agenda today is the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from open meetings and closed meetings from both May 27th, 2025 and June 17, 2025. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 The minutes have been approved. The other item on our open agenda today is a discussion on the restructuring of a housing production fund loan for our property, the Laureate. And I will turn it over to President Chelsea Andrews to lead the discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, HOC team, and the public. This item is a housekeeping item as it pertains to next phase of finalizing our financing for the Laureate and utilizing the HFA loan. The document provides an outline of a structural change that needs to occur in order to comply with FHA requirements. And this presentation will be provided by a combination of our divisions. Our real estate division, mortgage finance, and legal will weigh in. But we have definitely had an opportunity to do the due diligence around the appropriate structure and are making this recommendation. We're making this recommendation to advance. And so we will start with Alex Lawrence, our housing acquisition manager, to provide an overview of what we are requesting.
Thank you, President Andrews. Good morning, committee members. For the record, my name is Alex Loren. I'm the housing acquisition manager here at HOC. So we're here today seeking support from the Development and Finance Committee for the recommendation to the Commission of the restructuring of the HPF loan at the Laureate. In 2021, the construction of the Laureate was financed by a senior FHA risk share loan funded with tax-exempt bonds, tax-exempt bond proceeds from HOC, and a subordinate loan from HOC using housing production funds. The property owner, HOC at Westside Shady Grove LLC, was the borrower of both the FHA risk share loan and the HPF loan. Above the property owner is the sole member, which is the entity HOC EYA BC Westside Shady Grove LLC, which is a joint venture between the development partners, EYA, Bizzuto, and HOC. Construction of the Laureate is now complete. Operations are stable. The project has achieved a stabilized occupancy of 93% and is meeting debt service coverage requirements required for the final endorsement and the administrative conversion of the loan to the permanent phase. As a part of the preparation for final endorsement, HOC staff are proposing a restructuring of the subordinate HPF loan to become a mezzanine loan for reasons our Vice President of Mortgage Finance, Mike Somerville, and Deputy General Counsel, Paige Gentry, will walk you through further. Before doing so, just want to call your attention to the consent we received from our partners, EYA and Bizzuto, for this restructuring. And now I'll turn it over to our Vice President of Mortgage Finance, Mike Somerville.
Thank you, Alex. For the record, my name is Michael Somerville, Vice President of Mortgage Finance. Under the FHA risk share program, FHA requires that any subordinated loan that has a balloon payment have a maturity date that is no earlier than the maturity date of the FHA first lien of the FHA risk share loan. So in order to match this regulation, we need to make this change to the structure of the HPF loan. With that, I'll turn it over to Paige Gentry.
Great, thank you, Mike. Good morning, commissioners. For the record, my name is Paige Gentry, Deputy General Counsel of HOC. And if we can flip to the next slide, I wanted to provide a bit more detail on what the proposed restructuring would actually entail. So the chart on the left side of the slide shows the current financing structure at the Laureate. So we have the property owner in yellow, and that, as Alex said, is the borrower of two loans, the senior FHA risk share loan and the subordinate HPF loan. And both loans are secured by a security interest in the property. And so that's that nice little dotted line down there with collateral. The chart on the right shows the proposed restructure of the HPF loan. So in this chart, we have the property owner. Once again, it's in yellow. It would assign its interest as borrower of the HPF loan to the sole member in orange. And with that assignment, the sole member becomes the borrower of the HPF loan. As part of this restructuring, we changed the collateral on the HPF loan from a security interest in the physical property to a security interest in the sole member's ownership stake in the property owner. So again, that's now that upper line of collateral pointing to that membership interest. This is consistent with a more traditional mezzanine debt structure, and it's very similar to the structure of the financing at Cider Mill, which has an FFB loan and then also a mezzanine loan at a managing member entity level. As part of the restructuring, I do want to flag, we'd amend the operating agreement of the property owner to ensure that there's a mechanism to distribute the funds from the property owner to the sole member, sufficient to pay interest payments and principal payment when due. But at the end of the day, now the HPF loan borrower is this sole member entity, and they're responsible for repaying the HPF loan with whatever funds available. So with the restructuring set forth on the right, this addresses the issue that Mike flagged, as the borrower is no longer party to a subordinate loan with a balloon payment and a shorter maturity date. As Alex mentioned, we do have approval from our partners EYA and Bizzuto. We also ran this structure through bond counsel, tax counsel, and our accountants to confirm that there aren't any adverse tax implications or issues under the bond documents. And Alex, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Paige. So with that, we can go to the final slide here. So staff is recommending the Development and Finance Committee support its recommendation to the Commission to authorize and approve the restructuring of the HPF loan, specifically the assignment of the property owner's interest in the HPF loan to the sole member, assignment of the sole member's interest in the property owner as collateral for the HPF loan, and execution of any documents related to the restructuring, including but not limited to assignment agreements, pledge agreements, and amendments to the operating agreements of the property owner and sole member. With that, we'll take any questions.
Thanks, Alex. Just a couple of quick questions. This seems fairly straightforward. Had we not anticipated that we would be doing an FHA risk share for the permanent loan? Or I'm just curious how, like, if this was when this became a known issue, if this has always been the case for FHA risk share permanent loans, and you know, I don't think this is a problem, but you know, why we're having to do this now.
I can jump in. So, and Alex and Mike, you should pop in if needed. When you look back at the packets for the original HPF and the laureate, the intent was the HPF would be repaid as part of conversion of the final loan, so this doesn't become an issue. And Alex, I'll need you to jump in here, but it's my understanding that we, based on just how the deal is progressing, it's preferential to have that final 5th year of maturity under the HPF, and this is how we get there. So going forward, real estate and mortgage finance and legal are intending that we'll sort of use this as the structure going forward. So on the SAGE, the loan, if you remember the resolutions from the SAGE, the HPF loan is going to that sole member entity as a starting point to give us the most flexibility of using HPF loans. Alex, I don't know if you have additional color on that.
No, that was very accurate. Thank you, Paige.
So can I follow up on that? So I take your response page to mean that that the original deal was for the, well, maybe I'm not clear. You thought that the balloon would be paid at the end of this year before we closed on the permanent financing? Is that what you explained?
Yeah, that was if you go back and look at the original business plan for the laureate, the intent was to pay off the HPF loan prior to
and this doesn't create any problems with HPF or standing with HPF or anything like that?
No, the term of HPF is a 5-year term, so the HPF term would expire in December of next year. There's no impact on that.
Thank you.
Let me just also highlight that this is our first iteration of taking out the HPF loan and, getting to this stage with and of course, we're not taking the loan out yet, but just at this stage in terms of the overall mechanics working with HPF. So looking at this from a different lens in terms of timing and sequencing, giving ourselves a little more flexibility with regards to when we do pay off the HPF and structuring it in a way that allows us to maximize both the HPF and the HFA is where we are now, and ultimately will be how we structure moving forward.
Sounds
Yeah.
great.
Now that makes sense. And right, this is still a relatively new product for us, so I'm sure we're learning a little bit as we go along. And you've sort of answered a little bit of, or my next question, which was just, I mean, I hear that this will probably be the structure that we pursue going forward. Are there other projects out there where we may need to make this change as well?
Team, I believe we looked at this, Nihar. What are your?
That's correct. We will be evaluating this when the time comes for Hellendale. And then we're already kind of reformulating and restructuring the agreements for the Sage. And essentially and effectively any project that will have HPF and FHA risk share.
I just wanted to thank staff for early in my tenure with HOC, we would have a narrative description of what was going on versus an org chart. So I thank you for giving us an org chart. It's much easier to follow what was and what is to be. So I thank you for that change.
I just want to underscore that point. I worked my way line through the executive summary, and then I turned to the next slide, and it was so helpful. Can we turn to that slide for 1 second? If I could just, I'm going to take advantage. So if I'm going to take advantage of this august group put together before me. So I did get a little bit confused in the use of the terms property owner and sole member, especially since they seem to be exactly the same people. What am I getting wrong here?
Yeah, so it's a legal formulation. So you have the property owner is the entity that owns the property, and you're right, the sole member through its interest in the property owner owns the property. But if you looked at the deed, it would be HOC at Westside Shady Grove LLC when we close. Then
Yellow name.
the yellow one, yep.
Okay.
And then if you go to orange, that's our joint venture entity. So that is the entity that is the combination, and it sets forth all the governance and the agreements that we've talked about in closed session between EYA and Bozzuto and HOC. And when I say we talked about in closed session, this is actually from the laureate, so different than the Sage,
Yep.
but it's the same structure as what you've seen in the Sage. And so this just allows you actually to create this mezzanine structure, and it is the structure that was agreed on by Bozzuto, EYA, and the laureate, and works very well for having mezzanine debt come into the joint venture between the parties, as opposed to down at that property owner level. So yes, the sole member has an interest in the property. It's just not a direct interest. It's through its ownership of the entity that owns the property.
And so what you've accomplished is the risk share loan can't threaten the FHA loan by having it.
Yeah, the FHA loan can't threaten the risk share loan. Yeah.
Right.
Or the HPF loan can't threaten.
HPF loan can't threaten the FHA loan. And so for Jeff and Jonathan's benefit, is FHA never doesn't allow second mortgages, I don't think.
Right.
I get it. This is common, Jonathan, and it's a way of segregating risk.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate everybody's patience here. So the collateral for the mezzanine debt is sort of analytically different than the property, but the whole economic value of the orange box is the yellow box.
Yes.
So it's sort of encumbering the property indirectly.
No, not encumbering the property.
No, it's not encumbering. Yeah, it's not encumbering the property. It's encumbering. So if For
Right.
example,
It's
the length
encumbering
of
the
the
economic
weather.
value. It's encumbering the economic value of the property.
Because you'd step into the shoes of the entity that manages the yellow box, which owns the property.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I think it's
Are there-
important to note by moving the HPF loan up to the sole member, it allows us to be more nimble in the future if looking at additional financing options, because it eliminates any interference or influence on the FHA risk share loan.
Are there any additional questions?
No.
If not, can I get a motion to support the staff's recommendations
moved.
and to send this to the full commission?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The motion is approved. Thank you. Are there any other items that need to come before the committee in the open session? If not, pursuant to section 3-305B and D of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, I move to adopt the written closing statement dated June 24, 2025, and to adjourn this open session to a closed session to discuss financing terms for a property located in Bethesda. HOC must discuss this topic in closed session to protect a third party's confidential commercial and financial information. Section 3-305B13 allows this topic to be discussed in closed session. If a member of the public that is watching this meeting in real time on YouTube wishes to object to the closed meeting, please comment in the YouTube chat box or contact HOC's General Counsel. Instructions can be found in the Open Meetings Act objection procedures, which is posted on HOC's website. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will now move into closed session. Thank you.
Thank you.